You just got your first FPV setup and you need help getting it in the air. That's exactly where I was just a few months ago when I started flying FPV. I was completely overwhelmed with trying to figure out how to connect my drone to my controller, how to connect my drone to my FPV goggles, and how to just start flying. I want to preface with the fact that there's multiple ways to set up your drone, but since I was having a hard time finding an all-in-one video when I started FPV, I want to share with you how I set up my drone, radio controller, and goggles. I'll be walking you through exactly how to set this up step by step, so by the end your FPV setup should be ready to fly. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you already have an FPV setup, but if not, this is the gear that I'll be using for this video. We have the Beta FPV Air 65-2 Freestyle tinywhoop. With that, we have the 320 milliamp Llava II 1S batteries. For a radio controller, we have the Radiomaster Pocket, paired with the two required 18650 lithium-ion batteries. Additionally, we'll be using the Beta FPV VR04 analog goggles, and finally, we have the Hexacharger Pro for charging the drone's batteries. This guide should generally work with any combination of ELRS drone and ELRS radio controller. This should work for the vast majority of FPV goggles as well. Please do keep in mind that some things might be different. If you do run into any issues during this guide, feel free to drop a question in the comments and I can help you out. Or shoot me a DM on Instagram or TikTok at Alec_Searle. This is the setup that we'll be using for our guide today. If you want to learn more about it, I did make a video about the best beginner FPV setup. I'll put it right here and down in the description. Before we get started, we're going to talk about the basics of FPV and how all the gear communicates with each other by Alec. First off, the radio controller talks to the drone. Here on the left, we have the Radiomaster Pocket, which is outputting a signal to the drone. This includes things like the throttle, roll, pitch, and yaw. This is how you control the drone. The drone over here is receiving these instructions via this ELRS antenna. It's this really small red antenna going across the board. If the connection between the radio controller and the drone gets messed up or lost, the drone will fall out of the air or default to some type of recovery protocol if you're flying a DJI or something with GPS. Next, the drone captures video via its onboard camera. This video is sent to the VTX. This is the video transmitter. This antenna on the back of the drone then transmits that video on a specified channel and frequency. Your FPV goggles have an antenna on it as well, and this is listening to that channel and frequency that the drone is sending the video on. Once you're connected to this channel and frequency, the FPV goggles will display what the drone is seeing from its onboard camera. That was just about as basic as it gets. That should be enough information for you to be able to get started. The Radiomaster Pocket requires two 18650 lithium-ion batteries. You can buy them directly from Radiomaster, but I just got mine on Amazon. The Radiomaster Pocket charges via USB-C. Press and hold the power button to turn it on.
Welcome to HTX. Throttle warning.
You'll see this throttle warning come up. This just means to turn the throttle all the way down.
Switch warning.
Then the switch warning comes up. Make sure to disengage the top switches. Then you can click any button to dismiss.
Flight mode acro.
As we can see, my Radiomaster says Blueberry on it. That's a profile that I created. To create your own, click Model. Then scroll up to Pocket at the top, click down on the scroll wheel, and then scroll down to Copy Model and select it. Scroll the wheel again and it'll pop up there at the bottom of the list. Clicking down on the scroll wheel again will confirm your action. Now we need to select that profile as our active profile. Scroll down, click on it, and then click Select Model.
Switch warning.
We'll see the switch warning again. Go ahead and dismiss that. Click the Page Back button once, and we'll see that we are under the Pocket profile now. We can change this name to whatever we want. Click down on the scroll wheel and then use it to rotate through all of the available letters, uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. Once you've found the character you want, select down on the scroll wheel and it will move on to the next character in the name. If your name doesn't fill the whole space, you can scroll all the way to the left to use the blank character. At the very end, click the scroll wheel again and that'll confirm the name for it. There's a couple other options here, but you don't need to worry about it. Click back and we're back on the main page where it displays your active profile. Next, we're going to implement a safety feature that audibly tells you when you arm your drone. To do this, we'll select Model, Page Right, until you're at page 10. Here we have the Special Functions section. We'll select the first line, and when we start scrolling, you'll see it auto-populate. We want to assign this to the top left trigger button. When you press down on it, you can see it assigns SA with a down arrow. Select the scroll button to confirm that. And in this next section, we'll scroll until we get to Play Track. Select that using the scroll wheel. And then in the section after that, we want to pick the track that says Armed. Here we found Armed. Go ahead and click down on the scroll wheel to assign it. Click the scroll wheel again to skip this last section. Click the back button, and here we can test it. Now we'll have an audible cue whenever the drone is armed. Before we move over to the drone, we need to charge its batteries. LiPos can be dangerous, but if you charge them responsibly, you shouldn't have any issues. Here we have the Hexacharger Pro, which is powered via USB-C. As we can see on the screen here, this bottom number tells us the current voltage of the LiPos that are plugged into it. And if we click the start-stop button, we can change what kind of charge we're going to give it. There's LiPo, LIHV, and storage. We're going to start with LiPo. LiPos are charged to a maximum 4.2 volts. Clicking this right button changes the amps for powering these LiPos. If I have 6 LiPos in there, I normally do 2 amps, but you do you. Press and hold start stop and that'll start the charging of the LiPos. They'll turn green once they're done charging. Until then, just leave it. Next, I want to show you the storage charge. The storage charge of these LiPos is 3.85 volts. We can do that using this Hexacharger Pro. Pressing and holding the start stop button just like before will initiate this. As we can see, 5 of them are already at storage charge and 1 is charging up to the storage charge. At this point, we can take one of our charged batteries and we'll bind our ELRS drone with our ELRS radio controller. To put the Beta FPV drones into bind mode, you plug in and unplug the LiPo 3 times. Other drones might vary from that sequence. At this point, the drone is in binding mode. We'll go to the Radiomaster, click System, and Express LRS. Next, we'll scroll down until we get to Bind. Click Bind and wait for it to bind with the drone. Click the Return button. Be careful here, but if you click the Armed button, the drone's props will start spinning. We can double check it's bound by unplugging the battery.
Telemetry lost.
You'll hear telemetry lost. When you plug it back in, you'll hear
Telemetry recovered.
At this point, we know that the drone is properly bound with the radio controller. Next, we want to connect our drone to Betaflight. I know as a beginner, Betaflight's a little bit scary, but I promise I'll make this super easy for you. First, we'll plug in the included connector into the drone. This goes to a USB-C cable. And then in your browser, go to app.betaflight.com. Next, you can plug in the drone to the computer. Oftentimes it'll auto-connect like it did here. However, if it does not auto-connect, you can select your device and do I can't find my USB device, and it should come up with your drone. You can click connect, connect again, and you'll be into Betaflight. The very first thing you want to do when you get into Betaflight is go to Video Transmitter, go down to Power, and select PIT. After selecting PIT, click Save. The reason we do this is because your drone is constantly transmitting a video signal. The drone heats up as it's transmitting this video signal, which while it's flying isn't a big deal, but when it's sitting on your desk or sitting connected to Betaflight, that will cause a problem. So putting it in pit mode while we're servicing it will lessen how much heat is being conducted inside of the drone. However, it's still smart to keep a fan blowing on the board or blowing on it with your mouth every once in a while to be sure the board does not heat up too much or else it can break it. Betaflight has some cool features. Here on setup, we can move the drone around and see the gyroscope reflecting on the page. If we move to configuration, this is where we'll assign the name of our drone. Here we can see mine is named Blueberry. You can change that to whatever you want, such as Air 65, but I'm gonna leave it as Blueberry because I have the Air 65 Freestyle, which is blue. Haha. Then we'll come down to this other features section and make sure OSD is enabled. I'll tell you more about the OSD in a little bit. Click save and reboot though. Another notable page is the PID tuning page. I kind of recommend avoiding this as a beginner, but this is where you can change your rates, your throttle sensitivity, and some other aspects. I recommend just flying default settings, and then you can come back to this when you feel like you're ready. The receiver page is really interesting. We paired our drone to the receiver earlier. So here we can see if we click buttons and move the analog sticks, we can see it reflected on this page. The modes page is super cool. If we click the armed button, we can see this little yellow tick move up and down. We're not gonna go deep into this in this video, but just as note, when that yellow tick is underneath the thick yellow section, that means it's active. When it's outside of that yellow section, it's inactive. As for this three-way switch controls the flight mode that you're in. When it's pushed all the way forward, it's angle mode. When it's in the middle, it's horizon mode. And when it's all the way back, you can't see it on the screen, but that's acro mode. Now the OSD or on-screen display is the main thing we want to update while we're connected to Betaflight. This is what you see in your FPV goggles. I'll just go through what I have on mine and you can customize yours to what you want. Battery voltage is a must. Core temperature is a must-have. Crosshairs is nice to have. Disarmed and armed, I would say, is necessary. Flight distance, I don't know why I had that on because this drone doesn't have GPS. Fly mode is useful. Goggle voltage can be useful as well. VTX channel is nice to have. And then warnings is especially nice to have so you know when your voltage is running low on your LiPo. You can move these around on the OSD screen to your liking. Please note that if you do select something and you don't see it pop up on the OSD screen, oftentimes they stack on top of each other. So drag the items around and it might be hiding behind something that's already on the screen. Once you've set up your OSD with what you like, do not forget to save it. The last page of note is the CLI. You don't need to do anything with this right now, but it's good to know it's here for future customization. Now that we're done, we can go back to the video transmitter page and reset our power output to 200 or 400. And don't forget to save. Now, speaking of future customization, I do have a video on being able to change your power output using the scroll wheel on your radio controller. So I'll link that in the description and in this top card and you can check that out. We're done with Betaflight, so you can disconnect your drone from it now. Now we can connect the drone to the FPV goggles. We're using the VRO4 goggles for this demonstration. Now the high level of connecting your drone to the FPV goggles is constantly transmitting a video signal, and all we have to do with the goggles is find that signal. So after turning on the drone, we'll press and hold the power button of the goggles to turn them on. We can kind of see in the screen that I'm already connected to the correct frequency. If yours is fuzzy, press and hold this top button. This will search through all the channels to find the strongest frequency near you. Once it finds the frequency your drone is emitting, it will lock into it and you'll have video. And that's it, you're ready to fly. And don't forget, if something isn't working or you have questions on part of this process, feel free to drop a comment down below and I'll see if I'll be able to help you, because I probably went through the same thing. Don't forget, you can also message me on Instagram or TikTok at Alec_Searle. I also post a lot of content on there throughout the week. I'm still new to FPV and I'm sharing a lot of beginner content as I progress through my journey. So if you're interested in that and want to learn with me, please consider subscribing, because I'm documenting everything along the way. Later.